All right, we're back live with Jim Marrs, journalist, best-selling author. He's going to stay with us a little bit in the next segment because he's got some really bombshell information dealing with what happened a month ago with that Chinese missile. He's even got an admission on CNN and how it ties together with that stalled cruise ship in the same area. That's coming up with Jim in the next segment. Now, Jim, obviously our hearts and prayers go out to everybody who was injured and killed and their families dealing with this guy. But on so many fronts, it just screams mind control. But he may just be a violent schizophrenic dressing up as the Grim Reaper, burning the American flag and praising the Communist Manifesto, which then the Southern Poverty Law Center, big defenders and stuff like that, says that he's a conservative. Last time I checked, it meant he was the opposite. But, I mean, regardless, they're really trying to use this as a political weapon. But I wanted to bring up Jolyon West. He was admittedly, in the MKUltra hearings, the #2 guy under Dr. Ewing Cameron, and you know who they are, but I want you to elaborate. But for those that don't know, Dr. Ewing Cameron was the head of the MKUltra program. He ran operations in Canada and the U.S. They've had History Channel specials with young girls. They'd get out of foster homes and erase their memories and give them new names for government service, and the months of LSD, years of audio piped in with psychological compulsion, sex slaves. I mean, this all came out. Jolyon West, a guy that worked with him, admitted mind control doctor, when McVeigh goes to Denver for the trial, then when he goes to Terre Haute, Indiana for the years he's there for execution, that's his doctor on record. I mean, in the newspaper. How dumb do they think we are, Jim Marrs?
Well, exactly. And to add some substance to what you just said was I once talked to Dr. Julian Murdoch, who was the doctor who was caring for Jack Ruby in the Dallas County Jail. And he said that towards the end of the summer of 1966, that he had examined Ruby and he was perfectly okay. He said then the next thing that happened was he showed up one day and they said, well, your services are no longer needed. A doctor had come down from Washington and is going to take care of Ruby, and that turned out to be Dr. Jolly West.
Same guy.
Same guy. And
Whoa.
then a few months later, and then Ruby smuggles notes out of the Dallas County Jail and says they are injecting cancer into him. Then a month or two later, the news reports he's taken to Parkland Hospital with pneumonia, and then about a few weeks later, they said no, it's not pneumonia, it's lung cancer, and then just about a month later, he's dead. They said of lung cancer. Now, I had a fellow who attended my courses on the Kennedy assassination there at the University of Texas at Arlington, who worked for Southwest Medical School and operated their electron microscope. And he said that he was commissioned to study Ruby's cancer cells, and that they were not of the respiratory system, but of the intestinal system, the digestion system. And when he went to his boss and he said, look, the news is reporting that Ruby died of lung cancer, but these cells show that it was in his digestion system. His boss, who had been real friendly and had been real nice to him, just got real hard-nosed and cold and said, shut up, don't ever say anything about that again.
Well, by the way, as you know, down in New Orleans, I was down there with Ventura investigating this. They were testing injectable cancer, and now we know most cancer is viral in nature, and there's been huge Pentagon programs for more than 50 years, the Rockefellers going back over 80, testing and developing transmittable cancer, and almost every sewer system in the world tests positive for communicable SV40, which has caused many of the rare cancers to become very common, which was added to the Dr. Salk polio vaccine.
Right. And by the way, while Oswald was in New Orleans in the summer of 1963, he went to the office of the New Orleans district attorney and met with an assistant district attorney named Edward Gillen and asked him about LSD. He wanted to know, said he had a supplier and he wanted to take some LSD. He'd been experimenting with it and wanted to take it into Mexico and wanted to know if that was legal. So Lee Harvey Oswald apparently was also on the fringe of this mind control experiment that was going on with the CIA CIA, the military.
Well, it's been declassified that the military gave the LSD in masses in the 50s and 60s to the universities.
Exactly. That's another thing that most people do not understand. We all know, or most of the people, especially older folks that grew up, know about Timothy Leary and the drug revelation of the 60s and the drug revolution on the campuses. But what nobody really knows, and has been not only documented but admitted to by the CIA, that there would have been no drug revolution of the 1960s except for the CIA that got a total monopoly on the quantity of LSD and then farmed it out to these universities for study to find out if they could make it as a truth serum or as a mind-controlled substance. And that's what, then so all of a sudden, this total thing that was under total control of CIA is out on all these campuses, and then these professors and then their labs and their lab assistants and their girlfriends, they all start taking LSD, and then they moved on to other stuff. And that's what started the drug revolution of the 1960s, our own government. Your tax dollars in action.
This just out, Pima County Sheriff sets off debate on price of free speech. They're now blaming free speech for this demonic, schizophrenic demon, whoever he was. And it turns out he'd been making all sorts of statements about how he was going to kill everybody for years at college, but nobody stopped him. Isn't it funny how they never stop him? Isn't it funny? But then, I tell you, or how these government operatives like Hal Turner could call for violence for years and not get in trouble. It says heightened and vitriolic political rhetoric, how the government's destroying our country, is being blamed by some for the kind of violence that landed Arizona Representative Gabrielle Giffords in intensive care following a mass casualty shooting on Saturday. But others say a blame game is hardly appropriate or useful right now. Yeah, they're blaming libertarians, conservatives, people that want to audit the Fed. This guy had all sorts of ramblings. I mean, he also, of course, was an atheist. I mean, let's ban people being atheist. He also loved communism. I mean, I'm sick of it. He dressed up like a Grim Reaper. Are we going to ban Halloween costumes now?
Yeah, you hit a real sore point with me, Alex, in that, they're always attacking people like you for simply raising questions and raising your voice and questioning what is the government doing, why are they doing this, who's behind all this, which to me falls under free speech. And yet the people who, for months or years, said, I'm going to kill somebody, let's go kill everybody, they seem to just slide on through. That, that's their free speech.
Yeah, it's not free speech when you say, I'm going to go kill this person. Now it's a terroristic threat. Now it's a call to action. Listen to this sheriff. I think the vitriolic rhetoric that we hear today out from people in the radio business and some on TV business, he goes on to say that has not, because the United States of America that most of us grew up in. And I think it's time that we do soul searching, the sheriff said. Well, I'm going to say this. We can directly link real outburst of violence to violence on television, desensitizing people. Also, the Prozac family of serotonin reuptake inhibitors. We'll get Jim's take on that. They get into this missile investigation he's been looking into. This is some incredible info. Stay with us.